In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Gioia Luminosa aluminum fountain pen. I'll go over the specs, I will do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this pen coming up. So this is the Gioia Luminosa aluminum fountain pen. The Luminosa model was released relatively recently, and they first did it in resin, and then they came out with these aluminum ones, which I think look really cool. Now, these pens are all handmade in Naples, Italy, and they go for $165. And the name Luminosa means bright or full of light in Italian, and I'm not 100% sure how that translates to this pen. We do have some interesting things going on here, so let's just walk through the pen. The main part of the cap and the lower part of the body and the blind cap are this machined aluminum finish that isn't really like a strong brushing, so I'm not 100% sure what you would call this finish. I mean, there is some grain to it, but it's very faint. Now, the pen does have flat tops, so it will stand on the desk. And as on the resin version of the Luminosa, you can see you have these dimples. I don't know, are these supposed to be, is it supposed to be like alligator scales or lizard scales? Not 100% sure what that is, but they're shiny, and then there's like a matte textured part that really shows that shiny part off in relief there. So it's interesting looking. We have, going to the clip, we have the what's now kind of the standard Gioia clip, which is this really, I think, nice shape. It's not, it's a solid piece of metal. It's not like a cheap stamped metal, and it's kind of this multifaceted design, which is wider at the top and then narrows towards the edge. It looks, I think, really nice. This is one of the more interesting clips out there, and it doesn't look like a copy of something else. So I think they do a good job with that. Now, in terms of the shape, it's fattest about here, and then it kind of tapers a bit towards the top of the cap, and then it again, and then below the little chrome ring here, it tapers towards the edge of the cap there. Now, when we look at the body here, you can see you have this clear plastic resin, which shows off the ink window, and this thing holds a ton of ink. I should have probably maximized the fill before this video, but I've been using this for a while here, but it holds a lot of ink, and you can really see it in that window. And then again, we sort of have, it's not quite the same pattern here as is on the top, but there's similar shapes there. However, in this time, if they are scales, these are the matte ones, and they have kind of almost a coin edge to them. Let me get a little bit closer there. But there's definitely a grain there, and then the outer part is done in relief. I think I think this looks really cool. I didn't necessarily love this on the resin version of this pen, but on this aluminum one, I kind of dig it. I don't exactly know what it is, but the pattern itself is neat. So from that trim ring at the end of the window there, then we're back into the aluminum, and then here is the blind cap, and there's a little aluminum trim ring, or not aluminum, chrome trim ring, and then at the end, it's flat, just flat aluminum there. So uncapping the pen, let's see here. It's about 1.5 turns, which is pretty good. Now, the plastic or the resin grip section here, it goes all the way to the threading. So the threading is that clear plastic. And then we have a pretty standard, very nice size grip section. So it's quite fat, and it has a nice taper to it before flaring out at the end, so you know where, not to grab any further. We have the Jovo number 6 nib. This one I have a 1.5 millimeter stub on here. It is a steel nib, and it's got Gioia's custom engraving on here, which I think looks really, really nice. And being a Yovo stub, it is untipped, but writes very nicely. Interestingly, unlike the Nettuno NE 2.0 with the black nib, the Pelagos one that I reviewed, this one doesn't have that pencil-like feel. This one is very, very smooth. So I think on that pen, it really must have been the black finish that gave it that pencil-like feel, whereas this feels super, super smooth on the page. The nibs are threaded, so you can change them. The grip section here also does unscrew from the body. So, when you need to service the vacuum filler, you can, get silicone grease in there, no problem. So it is very user serviceable. Now, when I write with this pen, to release the ink flow, I unscrew the blind cap there just so that we get the air flowing, because when it's tightened down, there's no ink flow to the nib, which makes this great for, traveling on a plane if you're worried about ink spilling. But I do think that, on my desk, I keep this unscrewed and just cap the pen. I think that's the best way to go. Otherwise, you're unscrewing this every time you want to write with it. And personally, I think that's annoying. But I'm going to tighten this back up so we can do some measurements here. Regarding the filling of this pen, the way that it works, it's a vacuum filler. So you unscrew the knob here, and then once it's released, you can pull the plunger in here. Let's see, can we see that if we look? It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but there's like uh, the plunger here. You can see the rod for it, and then there's like a stopper with an O-ring on there. And so basically, you unscrew this, you pull it all the way out, you stick the pen in the bottle of ink, and then you kind of push it down relatively quickly, and it'll suck ink up into the barrel there. And it does hold quite a bit of ink. Okay, let's do the measurements. So we are looking at 142 millimeters. Gioias are always big. I don't think they've ever made a small pen, at least not that I've seen. And this is about 133 millimeters. This does post. As you use this pen more, the aluminum is going to get marked up, and I think that's going to just kind of add to the look of the pen. But I've been careful with it I don't know, I think I've been using this for like 2 or more months now. But I've been careful with it because I wanted to show you guys what it looks like, without it being all marked up. But now I get to really enjoy it now that I'm essentially done reviewing it. So this is about 178 millimeters, and it's really top heavy. I don't recommend posting it. It can be done, but I don't recommend it. One other thing I forgot to mention, the threads on the inside of this are metal, so they are metal threads onto a plastic section. There is, I think, a cap liner in there. If not, there's at least a little step that helps the pen seal. And I will say I've left this pen for, I think, a week and a half without using it, and it wrote right away. So it does definitely have a nice seal to it. Let's do the grip section here. So at the widest point before the threads, 11.4, and before it really just kind of flares out there, 10.2. So it's a big grip section, standard, Gioia situation here, which is a really nice, comfortable grip section. Now let's do the weight. Looking at about 29 grams, and then with the cap, 48 grams. So in the hand, this pen is super comfortable. It feels right. It balances pretty nicely in my hand. It posted, I haven't really done too much with it posted, but it's pretty darn top heavy. It can be done, but it's pretty back weighted at that point. So let's do some comparisons here. Here it is with a Delta Duna and with a Aurora Optima. This is a big pen. The Gioia pens are always large, and even with the flat tops, it's still bigger than these other, what I would consider full-size pens. For the writing sample, I'm going to be using a Papermine Tomoya River hardcover notebook. These notebooks are excellent with fountain pens, and for Blake's broadcast, viewers and subscribers, you can get 10% off with code BB10 at checkout. Gioia Luminosa. This is a 1.5 millimeter stub. And this ink, I know it's Orochizuku. I think Tsukiyo from Orochizuku. Okay, now we'll try fast writing, which this is a 1.5 millimeter stub, so it's quite wide, but we'll see if I can keep the position okay. We'll probably be able to do it. So I think we can see part of its position sensitivity. So if you don't get it quite straight, you'll get a narrower line. But I also think that with fast writing, this 1.5 millimeter stub is definitely, taxing the standard Yovo feed. But in normal writing, if you don't go crazy big and fast, this feed keeps up really, really well. Now, see here, I can see it thinning out like right about here. But, for something that you're going to do, but for normal writing, you're not really going to have any issues. I will say you do need to have, a pretty flat surface because, again, that wide cut, if you turn the nib, you're going to have some trouble. So just keeping it flat is really kind of key with this, but it's super smooth. And, the nib is very forgiving. This isn't the kind of nib that's going to dig into the paper at all. It's really nice. I think the 1.5 millimeter stub is, as wide as you can go with the standard Yovo feed, but it keeps up nicely. And I've been very happy with the writing performance of this nib. Now, in terms of flexibility, let's see. Yeah, I mean, you do get some, there's no question about it. So here's with some pressure, and here's with no pressure. So there is a little bit of softness there that you can get, but it is the standard Yovo feel. So I wouldn't say it's quite a nail, but it's not a particularly flexible nib. So what are my pros and cons for the Gioia Luminosa? Well, with any Gioia, I think the number one pro is the value for money. This is a super nice aluminum bodied, vacuum filling, Italian made fountain pen for $165. You have a threaded nib unit. The section unscrews such that you can service the pen, put silicone grease in there. And being a Joya, it's a big, comfortable size with a really nice grip section. So I really like that. In using this, I think it's going to get, marked up and patinaed. I'm looking forward to seeing how this pen looks after I've used it for a long time. I think it'll look really cool. Visually, I also think this is quite a neat looking pen. There really isn't another pen that looks like this with these unusual, I don't know if they're animal like trims, but just unique patterns on the rings. I think they look really nice. This thing holds a lot of ink. It's good for flying because you have essentially a shutoff valve when the blind cap is closed. There's just a lot of good things here. Threaded Yovo number 6 unit means you can put all different types of nibs on these if you don't want to use a standard Yovo one. This 1.5 millimeter Yovo stub is a fantastic, smooth, wet writer. It's really, really nice. Now, in terms of cons, it does become quite long and top heavy when posted. So that I would say is the biggest negative for me, but pretty much no Joya pen really posts very well, except for the Kiwari, I want to say it's called, which I don't think they make anymore. But anyway, Joya pens, they're not posters really, so if you like to post your pen, probably not the best choice for that. I said this was a pro, but it's probably going to get marks, and either you like that or you don't. Now, I've been using this carefully because I wanted to show it to you in nice condition for a while, and I haven't really seen much in the way of scratches, but I think it's definitely a possibility. The other con I would say is a con pretty much with all vacuum filling systems. When the blind cap is screwed all the way down, there's no ink flow. So basically, you need to keep it unscrewed, when it's at your desk. Otherwise, it's kind of a lot of unscrewing and screwing just to use the fountain pen. So I leave it unscrewed, capped, but then when you travel with it, you're going to want to do this. It's just something to remember. I sometimes forget. You may not be as forgetful as me, but that is one of the negatives, I will say, of a vacuum filling system. The other negative is if the grease, you know, gets worn down, which it will in time. And now Gioia made was smart in that they made it easy for you to service it. But if that grease gets worn down and it doesn't have the lubrication, when filling this, you can make a pretty big mess because you basically are putting pressure into the barrel with ink, and the ink will go where there is the least amount of pressure. So if there isn't a good seal, it could be a mess. But that's pretty much it. Do you guys have this pen? Do you like this pen? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen paper ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much, and until next time.